There we go. There we go. We might have some delays because we're shooting this on several phones. We have computers going all over the house, sucking up the Wi-Fi. But this is our call-in show today to talk about this issue about the falling birth rates around the world. And I got to say, the reason I wanted to do this topic, and Acty, let me know if I'm breaking up at any point, right? Like if you can't hear me, okay? But the reason I wanted to do this topic is because a lot of people are always talking about the birth rates across the world are falling, the West is falling, all that sort of stuff, right? And it's always said in this like type of way of like talking about GDP, the economy, the shrinking economy of the future, right? Like there's nobody gonna pay into the taxes and stuff like that. But having a child is like a personal thing, and it's related to a woman's choice of what to do with her body at the most personal level. And so I'm going on this website more often than I used to in the past called Lipstick Alley. And it's mostly like Black women talking about uh, issues and celebrity gossip and all sorts of stuff from their perspective, right? And I clicked this thread about the birth rates falling, and I was actually taken aback by how many women were saying in there, like, yeah, give me one good reason men should get us pregnant. Like that was the overall sentiment. You get what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
was shocked. I never thought about that before. Like I never thought about the falling birth rates from the perspective of women. And like I had to knock myself on the head for that. But anyway, like Acti, have you ever thought about this before? Like, birth rates, do you think it's an issue? Do you think it's a non-issue? Like if there's less people in the world, more people are needed. What's your opinion on all this?
Yeah, like obviously as a woman, I thought about it. I also contemplated myself like having kids and stuff like that. And I think it is a problem, but I don't think it's a problem that like single people or families are going to be solving. I think it's a bigger problem. I think it's related to like capitalism and the economics and certain like birthrights that we have, education. It's related to like everything that is the system. So I
Mm-hmm.
think what would fix it would be like fixing the system and not like actually telling people to go have more kids,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like no one would have kids just because like some president told them, or just because like I don't know, they are saying that world is like falling apart, they just have kids.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe there are crazy people out there that would do it for that, but I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like 95% of the people wouldn't do it unless, like, there is some good reassurance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, speaking of making choices, right? Having a choice to have kids or not. I picked a beautiful woman. Yes, I know, Crypto Hunter. My wife is hot. Yes, my wife is hot. This is my wife, guys, not my girlfriend. Anyway, I think now is a good time to talk about like our thoughts about having kids, like, before we met each other, what we thought our lives would be and stuff like that. And for me, like when I was a teen, I thought the world is going to be burning. We're about to be in late stage capitalist hell. I grew up in that era of Iraq, Afghanistan, the financial crisis of 2008, people losing their homes all on the news and stuff like that, hearing my parents argue about money, seeing like dysfunction in my own family. And I thought to myself, I don't want to have kids, right? And then on top of that, being a Black man in white supremacist America, seeing on the news every single day Black men shot in the back by police, the poverty that we live in, the lack of opportunities we have. I was like, why would I want to bring another child in this world? And then on top of that, another Black child, right? And then as I got older and started to get pussy, as I got older, my thoughts changed to sort of like where they are now, which oscillate from I want to have kids, but 90% of if I don't have them, I'm fine with that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, I've been through a lot of trauma when it comes to me, getting girls pregnant and them having abortions and me feeling like, okay, she's the one, I'm ready to do this as a father or ready to step up, no matter what stage I'm in. And then they go and do that behind my back, and I feel like betrayed and stuff like that. So, I've had multiple chances to be a father, but no woman found me worthy of having that honor, right? And that's
Mm.
knocked my self esteem to some degree. And it makes me just say, like, you know what? Instead of having my heart broken, whether it does happen or not, because it's always the woman's choice. I always say it's up to God. It's up to whatever happens, right? And if it doesn't happen for me, I don't care about the GDP of America. Who are the future workers? I don't care about any of that. I just want to be happy, and I hope.
Yeah. Well, I always knew like I wanted to be a mother. Like even when I wasn't in like any serious relationship and things like that, I knew like even if I don't ever get married, if I get married and divorced and don't have children and stuff like that, like I would have that children even on my own because I always wanted to be a mother. But like not specifically, giving birth. Like I could contemplate other options like adoption and all sorts of things like that. Like it wasn't like, oh, I want to just give birth.
Right.
But I knew like I feel like that was in my destiny, or just like I knew I wanted to do that for myself because I always believed that I would be a good mother and I would bring a good child into this world and I would raise them well. So that was like my reasoning. And then, like, starting my relationship with you, obviously, we got married and stuff. And it's like the closest I've been to, thinking about kids and stuff like that. Um, yeah, like, I feel like there were definitely a lot of times where I just wanted to say, like, fuck it, let's have kids and all that. Because, like, it was like a heat of the moment and I had baby fever. But definitely, like, I feel like if we were in like a very good financial situation, since kids require a lot of like, finances and a lot of money, I would have kids like in next year or something like that, like when I graduate, for example. But right now, like, it's like my only issue is a bit of like finances. And at the same that I want to have kids, but it's like I wouldn't be having kids just because like, GDP is going down as well. Like it's not that
Right.
for that reason. But yeah.
I got you. I got you.
Simon, yeah, you broke up a little bit.
Nelson. I just thought it was funny. I couldn't help it. Everything is possible.
Yeah, like you want me to repeat it? Yeah, like I think that we have a really good relationship, and I feel like I would want to have kids in the near future if we have good finances. So for me, like that's the thing that's stopping me right now, like about having kids in like the next couple of years. Cuz that's a must for me. Like I would have to be able to take care of that kid, and I should. So yeah, that's like my thing. But I wouldn't, if it comes and then we don't have a kid, I wouldn't have kids if someone told me like it's bringing the economy down. I-
Right, right. Okay, okay. I just feel like for us, if we're going to have kids in the near future, like I would really like to find a way to transition to something more
Yeah.
permanent other than English teaching. Like English teaching has brought us pretty far. Like it's got us our little house, it's brought us around the world. It keeps food in the fridge, it keeps coffee in your cup,
Yeah.
right? So it's not a bad deal. And I'm making more what I'm doing, which is a positive thing, right? But I do want to be a professor. Like I want to be Yeah, that's my only thing. And the thing is, I think that's why I put the option in the chat. We're living in late stage capitalist hell because in other periods of time, people didn't think about money, about having kids. They didn't think about all of these things. We're a slave to the dollar. Before we think about, having our progeny live on after us, we have to think about the almighty dollar. It's kind of sick. It's really sick. We're in a horror show.
Yeah. I mean, of course, like I'm not expecting us to be billionaires when we have a kid, right? That's not like my point. But I feel like we should be like, at least for me, and I would want both of us to be like, financially, mentally, and physically like stable and
Hmm.
comfortable to have a kid.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
someone has to stay at home and take care of that kid, or we have to
Hmm.
like get a nanny to be taking care of that kid if we're both working, and all
Yeah,
sorts of things. It's a lot of money, it's long years of commitment.
yeah.
So yeah. Okay, I turned off my Wi-Fi because you're breaking up. That's the reason. But okay, because you can hear them and then I can hear them as well. Like,
Pretty long article, but just to break it down, a lot of psychologists are studying the different reasons why people are deciding to become parents or not to become parents, and the shifting at 2024 worlds without kids who say they want any. That's about 18%. So if we match that up, that's about 48% of people who are like on the fence or pretty strongly like saying like, I don't want kids, which is, some people might find that troubling. I actually don't think it's that big of a problem if we depopulate, right? If there were less people on the planet, I don't find that honestly a problem. The only reason they drill it into our heads over and over in the media is that it's a problem is because of GDP, the economy, growth, blah blah blah, all that stuff. You get what
yeah.
I'm saying? But what do you think? Do you think depopulation is actually a positive thing or a negative thing or neutral?
I'm neutral to it. Like I don't think it would be good or bad. It's just that like the way they say it, like, oh, we need our GDPs up and we need like the young workforce and stuff like that. Like I'm not birthing slaves for you.
Hmm.
Like what are
Hmm.
you, I'm not like birthing economic slaves just to be get stuck in your hamster wheel. And yeah, that's so like messed up in my opinion for, people to come up and say that. And I think it will be okay. And even if we go instinct, like, guys, we had a good run. Come on now. We messed up everything in the world. I think we can go extinct. Like it's fine.
Woman had dropped from 4.7 in 1950 to 2.4 in 2017. And the study author predicts it will fall below 1.7 by 2100. So in about 100 years, we'll be below replacement level because replacement level, no, actually 2.5 kids, right? That's replacement level. So yeah, we're looking at some very serious demographic changes across the planet. And some of the different reasons people are not having kids, like the article says, is because, people that are worried really about climate change feel like, why should I bring a kid into this world if the world is going to be burning? How ethical is that? I'm putting them in this situation, right?
Hmm.
Another reason people are not doing it, of course, is finances. But another reason is that a lot of people saw a lot of family trauma at their homes. So if they saw mom and dad fighting about it, they didn't want to do it. Another big reason is that some people are actually taking parents already, right? Like, which I found interesting. Some people are, taking care of mom, granddad, grandpa, all that sort of stuff. So they're like, I took care of somebody else most of my life. I don't want to take care of anybody else.
Hmm.
And it was also interesting. They interviewed some parents as well. And a lot of the parents secretly, well, not a lot, about 20% of them said, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't have kids,
That's
which
kind
pisses
of a
me off.
lot. 20% is kind of a lot.
20%, that's like 1 in 5 people, right? Like you pick 1 in 5 parents out, 20% of them will say, yeah, no, I wish I didn't do it. That's
Yeah.
crazy. But what did you think about some of the differing reasons people had? And if there were any of them that I missed in that article that you thought were interesting?
Well, going to the reasons of it, I think all of the reasons are logical. I don't really find any of them stupid. Like thinking about the environment and like all the wars are going on and etc. Like, why would I bring a, child into this world? Yeah,
Hmm.
like I really get that. I think it makes sense for me. Like, I'm not gonna be living and deciding my life according to like what would happen 100 years later. Like, I'm just gonna do what I want, and maybe that's selfish, yes, but hey, like it's my life, so
Hmm.
I don't have. But if you think like that and you don't want to have children because of that, like that's totally valid.
Yeah.
And I think also when it comes to like past trauma, whether it's generational trauma, it's family trauma, it's like racial trauma, all of those things, I feel like
Hmm.
before also people had traumas too, like in the past, and maybe they had even more, right?
Yeah.
But everyone just sort of kept it within themselves. Nobody
Hmm.
like knew how to get help, and it wasn't like really an option. And now that people are taking advantage of therapy and I don't know, self-care and all sorts of things, and like this
Hmm.
generational trauma, family trauma, these are very new concepts. And
Hmm.
because people are realizing that, I think that's why they don't want to pass down those same things. And if you
Right.
don't have a, good experience being a child, then why would you want to, have a child your own? That
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
total sense as well.
Yeah. One of the things I thought was the most interesting is related to this quote right here. This girl, Shannon, said, I want to be that I found just somebody will remember for the rest of their lives. Like you remember stuff your mama did that she probably forgot about. And me too, right? And like your mother has the most impact on you. So like just our perceptions of mothers make women not want to do the job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's a lot of pressure, especially on women, because they are still in majority are the ones who take care of their children the most, right?
Hmm.
Emotionally, let's say. So that's definitely like, and there were times where I found myself thinking like, if I had a kid, what would I teach him or her about a certain topic?
Hmm.
And yeah, like you always want to be good to your kid. Obviously, you always want to teach the right thing, but it's so hard to not get freaking annoyed. And I know this a little bit
Yeah.
because, I was 12 when my brother was born, and everyone
Hmm.
like was like, "Oh, you're like his second mother." And I would like
Hmm.
bathe him, I would, change his diapers, I would play with him and all sorts of things. And yeah, like it can be very annoying. I would also yell at him too
Yeah.
for doing certain things that kids do,
Yeah.
like when he
It's sort
lied
of
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also like there's this compounding set of expectations that we put on women that are mothers too, right? Sort of like how we put more and more expectations on teachers. Like back in the day, your teacher was somebody who just taught you something and then left and smoked a cigarette. Now your teacher has to be your therapist. They got to be security guards. They got to be your cheerleaders. And on top of that, they grade papers, all sorts of stuff, right? And like we're watching 90 Day Fiance now, and there's this one girl there, the Jewish girl. I forgot her name. She lives in Miami or something like that. But
Yeah.
she dropped 3 kids, and now I feel like she's putting that expectation on herself to be like super beautiful, still sexy, still keep her pre-mommy body, all that sort of stuff. And I feel like there's also, that expectation on women that men and society are saying you have to remain beautiful, remain hot, and also keep on dropping babies, and also be mega career woman, and find the caretakers and the fucking babysitters and all sorts of stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
and cook, clean. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of like contradicting expectations that come on women, because it's like you have to keep your marriage alive. You still, like you said, you have to come back and have like a perfect body, I don't know, 3 months after you had a baby. And it's like also very much influenced by celebrities as well and social media, cuz then we'd be seeing like, I don't know, Kim Kardashian giving birth and then like jumping back onto how she looked like before a month
Yeah.
later because she's having like a tucking surgery or something.
Yeah.
But then like we have to expect the same thing. And also like, it was also mentioned in this article as well that a lot of people fear that if they have a child, their relationship will go to like shit, basically. And they
Yeah.
won't have like passion, they won't have satisfaction, and they also have like statistics and things like that about it. And honestly, like that's also one of my concerns as well, because
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
seen it in my mother as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, like once my brother was like a bit bigger, for example, a bit older, and she was like still sort of stuck in that mommy recovery stage.
Hmm.
It was like, she missed a step, and then
Hmm.
she was sort of like left thinking like, okay, what do I do now? How do I gain back like my sexiness, my confidence? My husband is still expecting me to like be how I was before I gave birth,
Hmm.
and all sorts of things. So, yeah, definitely. I think it puts a lot of pressure on body image as well.
Yeah. Now, does that bother you, that statistic that we read? And it says moms in particular feel the strain, with 38% of married moms reporting high relationship satisfaction, compared with 62% of married women with no kids.
Yeah,
So, does that, I don't know. Do you think that's,
definitely.
yeah. Do you think that's because of the added stress of the mothers, or do you think that's some change in the men? Do you think this is you love to say, "Oh, I hate men. This is men's fault" and stuff like that. You're always saying that, but is that a man fault that women become unhappy if they have children and they're married, or do?
I I think it depends on the relationship a lot. I feel like most of the time, if you think about traditional marriages and traditional families, woman is doing like most of the housework, right? Even though the husbands help. And like you're also a wife, you have wifely duties to like please your man and all sorts of things and
Mm-hmm.
spend time with them. But when you have a child, the child like takes up all your time and all your energy. And I feel like women cannot concentrate enough to the relationship and
Right.
also to themselves as well. And
Mm-hmm.
that sort of like maybe makes the men lose, interest in the woman after some time.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, like it's hard to have sex when you have kids crying all the time, and it is an important thing for men and also for women. Like we get stressed out when we don't have sex as well, and then we're constantly dealing with a child that's crying all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's more about like men not helping enough to
Mm-hmm.
women when they have kids. And then yeah, it's like you basically add another role to your
Yeah.
wifely duties and plus yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think motherhood just takes a lot of it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I see that. I definitely see that. I think, exactly like what you're saying is totally true. I've always wanted to ask my parents, do you regret having me and my brother? You know what I mean? Because I feel like my mom went through such a rough pregnancy, and then, things were hard in my family sometimes. So I always wonder, like, do they feel bad about making that choice? You get what I'm saying? Have you ever asked your mom?
No, I haven't. Cause I don't know. She never made me feel like it was a bad decision, and she always says like, you're the best thing I ever made. You're the best thing I ever did, and all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like her relationship with my dad didn't work out, right? But
Mm-hmm.
she always said like, you know, you're the best thing. So I never really asked her that.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, Nelson says, I think women already know instinctively how to be a mother. Fathers need to learn how to be a father. I think that's somewhat true. I think that's somewhat true. I think that's somewhat true. Not every man naturally has that paternalistic instinct. Like for me, Acti says all the time, "Oh, Simon, I think you'll make a great father." But like, even though I like teach kids and play with kids and stuff like that, I feel weird about touching like other people's kids. Like I always have this distance with them. You know what I mean? Like I'm not,
Yeah,
touchy feely like
they're
yeah,
others
other
people
people.
kids.
Yeah, yeah. There's something about that that just makes me say I gotta have a distance, especially if it's a white kid. I'm like, stay 5 feet away from
Well, our
me.
kid is gonna be half white, so you better get used to it.
Apparently, to the right wingers, that's not black enough. So I guess he's got to be white. My kid will be Turkish because apparently, if Kamala's not black, then I can't have black kids. I guess.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think just like men, some women are not inclined to be mothers, and we
Mhm.
actually talked about this before the live. Because when I was reading this article, I was thinking about my own friends and the people around me and how they view motherhood, right?
Mhm.
And I have like really close four friends, and I think like it's 50-50 for us. So like two girls in the group would possibly like to have like kids in the future, and then two of them might not,
Mhm.
and might not also want to, especially like one of my friends. And I feel like that's also true for women, but just throughout the history, women were just seen as, this reproduction machine, and mothers. So women who didn't have that maternal instinct didn't really have the chance to express that because it was possibly, seen as a bad thing. But I don't think every woman has that maternal instinct or know how to be a mother.
Do it unplanned. Like we read this article, and like 50% not many people are pulling out or pushing us off. Like, what is happening? Like, too many people are letting randos nut up in them, and too many people are nutting up in randos. Like, we got to stop that. We got to stop. And this is what I love talking about, like the birth rate issue, because this is like the one big societal problem that really has to do a lot with like personal choice and culture and society and relationship issues. Because like all the other issues like related to like Western civilization is falling because of the immigrants or the Muslims and all that stuff. All that's BS. We know it's because of late stage capitalism where nobody can afford anything. That's why life sucks, except for the birth rate issue. Because I think a lot of it does have to do with some of the choices men and women are making in the gender war. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's basically about sex, sex, and sex. Sex, love, and sex is the birth rate issue, and a little bit of money. Because let's keep it real, people are having kids regardless of whether they're rich or poor, right? Like nobody. A woman that says, a woman that says, "I want to wait to have kids until I get my finances right," ain't getting hit right. Am I tripping? I'm tripping. I'm taking it too far.
I
I'm
mean,
taking it too far.
the thing is, like, I can definitely see that because, like I said before, there were times where I had baby fever, and we probably had like $50 in the bank in total.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, because I be hitting it
so
right. I be, hey,
yeah, like
that's
I can see
it.
how that happens. But still, for me, I never said like, "Oh yeah, nut in me." I never said that to a guy.
Right, right, right.
So that's to me is kind of crazy how hot like people can get while they're like sexually together.
Yeah.
Because low key, maybe it's because of my own country, Turkey, because like we've been always, scared about virginity, about pregnancy all the time. And it's very, very, very taboo to be having like kids when you're in high school
Yeah.
accidentally. And that's not normal. Like, it's not like, how you always say, like in Louisiana, everybody gets pregnant in high school and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
that's not the thing in Turkey. So there's like a lot of scaring. So like even when I was younger and I was like having reckless sex, I was never able to be reckless about it. And in the back of my head, I was always like I cannot get pregnant.
Yeah.
Like I'd
Yeah.
be having sex and I would be thinking I cannot get pregnant.
Right, right. Yeah, it's the total opposite. Like my generation, like you were lucky if you made it to 18, 20 without kids already. Right. And I was literally lucky because I did get somebody pregnant at 16, but she got that borscht. And who knows how different my life would be had that not happened. Right. But damn, I was going to say something earlier. It was right at the tip of my tongue. All right. Nelson says he impregnated a girl when she was 15 in high school. No, so Nelson, you're somebody's baby daddy. That's crazy. That's crazy. What's your son or daughter's name? What's your son or daughter's name? We want to know.
And
But I was gonna say so.
how do you feel about being a parent, Nelson? Like would you take it back or you wouldn't? Let us know.
Yeah,
We
would you
won't
take back
expose you.
being a parent? We won't expose you. We've never seen your face. We don't know what you look like. But there was damn, there was something I was gonna say. Oh yeah, about people letting randos nut in them. I'll never forget, and I didn't tell you this story before. I didn't tell you this story. I was working at the Eden Rock Hotel in Miami in about 2016. I was working the late night shift, and I was taking bags up to a room, right? And I can honestly tell you, working at a hotel, and I worked at hotels for like 2 or 3 years, it's actually very rare to hear people have sex, at least in the hotels I was working in. I'm telling you, I'm being absolutely honest. And I'm working in the Marriott, the Hilton, Eden Rock, Fontainebleau, different hotels around Miami, right? I'm walking down the hall one day. I'm walking down the hall one day, late night, 2 a.m., and all I hear is, yeah, yeah, nut in that pussy, nigga. This is exact words, exact words. And this nigga said, yeah, yeah, you want me to nut in that pussy? And she said, yes, nut in my pussy, nigga. I swear to God, exact words, exact words. I was walking by and I stopped. I put my ear to the door like, this nigga about to nut in that pussy. That was so wild. That was so wild. They were talking hella nasty. I'm not even go even further, but
Ew.
I'm pretty sure that was baby dad. I'm pretty sure that was just some rando. But like I heard it. Like, I heard that shit for real, for real. Anyway, I'm
That's
sorry. That
gross.
was the story I just had to tell. That was the story I had to tell. But yeah, Nelson says, I felt nothing. I just wanted things back to normal. Interesting. Interesting. So how does it feel to be a father, Nelson? Delve into it. What is it like being a father? You know, Simon Loki recorded the whole thing. I did not record the whole thing. I'll just never forget that for as long as I live. That shit was real. That shit was real. But anyway, anything else that we should talk about?
I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Like, do you think parenting is more of a strain than benefit?
Um I'm gonna keep it real. It's a strain. It's a strain. The benefits are in it if you enjoy that sort of pain. It is the hardest thing you could do. Nelson would know better than me because he's got kids, right? But it's not easy to do. That's what I would say. That's my honest answer.
Okay.
The benefit might
And
be if you really believe, your kids will be there to love you, and you're building a family and a network, and you're making yourself live past your lifetime. Trying to impart wisdom to a next generation, stuff like that. I don't know.
okay. And do you think like women sacrifice more than men when it
Yeah,
comes to like being parents?
yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. There's a reason Tupac made "Dear Mama" and not "Dear Daddy." Ain't no "Hello Daddy" record. Ain't no "Dear Papa."
True, true.
All right.
And yeah, I guess like one more thing that we talked about before, and it's like I don't know if you remember, it was about like this theory called Eric Erickson's
Hmm.
stages of development.
Yeah.
And basically, yeah, he set like this is a very like well known theory, and every stage of our lives has like this sort of battle. So for example, when you are a baby,
Hmm.
um, it's between like developing trust or mistrust. So
Hmm.
like if you don't have your mother there, if you don't have like a caretaker there, basically you have mistrust, and yeah, like how you're showing. And I said like, so the time where you would have kids is the middle age, right? And it's generativity versus stagnation. So it's basically like you either generate something, right? Either like a family, a kid, or something towards your society, or you're stagnating. So you're not really doing anything, and you're not really like benefiting anyone. And yeah, and I said like that might change. Like this theory might be seen as dumb or like very
Hmm.
backwards,
Yeah.
looking at what people are talking about right now. But what do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I never heard about this. And guys, I love my wife because she's smart. She's smart as hell. I didn't know about this Erickson's psychological stages of life. Very interesting way of breaking it down. I'm very scared of reading anything related to psychology because I always self diagnose. So I started reading it and instantly thought about myself, and I'm like, oh no, I might be fucked up. Uh, but I think if more and more people have less kids and more people start focusing on different ways of living and finding purpose in life, then we're gonna have to change this theory because, like, generativity, a word I learned today, is really tied around having kids. But if that stage of life is not central to humans anymore, um, then what is really purpose now? What is one of our ways of finding purpose in this existence, right? If we think far enough into the sci-fi realm, what if in the future we really don't need new people because our lives are extended to 200 years, 300 years, 400 years, right? So we get to live much longer. What if, in the future we don't need women to get pregnant? We can create new people just by, putting them in factories, sort of like the Matrix or something like that. That's dystopian, maybe, but it could continue to happen. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
it's
any
very
comments?
dystopic. Yeah, like talking about this is giving Handmaid's Tale. If Handmaid's Tale universe ever happens, I'm dying, guys. I'm like killing myself. I'm not going through that shit. I'm not surviving. I don't care.
Yeah. And it's also interesting. A lot of people in this article that we read from the APA said, they don't want to have kids because in the US, we're getting like these restrictive abortion laws and stuff like that. Right. So this one couple was saying, like, we might have kids. We don't know for yet, but we don't know yet. But if my wife gets pregnant and we're not ready, then what's going to happen now? Like, we don't have the money for the abortion. We can't fly to California or New York. And then also in the article, they were talking about so many other issues in the US, like no paid paternity care, no guaranteed maternity care, very expensive child care, and stuff like that. And I'm like, in the US, it's like they want to force women to just pump cum into them and pump humans out of them, but they don't want to take the responsibility as a society to say we need to actually take care of kids. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think if women were given the like resources to be able to cope with parenthood, like healthcare and education and all sorts of things, I think women would choose to have more kids.
Mm,
Because, yeah, like if I'm going to be choosing between my education and my finances and having a kid, I'm going to choose my education and finances. At least, like at this point in my life, I will.
mm,
Because, like, what good the child is going to have if I bring her into a world where I don't have enough finances? I'm
mm.
constantly like just like working my ass off and I'm burnt out, so I don't have
Yeah,
time to be a mother. Like why would I do that? But yeah, like there's like very minimal amount of women who can have their careers and plus be mothers as well. And those are rich women, like let's be honest.
yeah, yeah,
Like
absolutely.
upper middle class, either like very rich single mothers or upper middle class like parents.
You wouldn't mind being a single mother? Like,
No.
just going back to like what you were saying at the beginning, like there are some people that would say, "Oh, being a single mother is one of the worst things that a child could be in because a child, regardless if it's daughter or son, they need their father there, or they need a two-parent household there."
I wouldn't mind being a single mother. And I told you this before. Like, even if I never gotten married, at some point, I still know I want to be a mother. So, like, if that was the case and I'm like, I don't know, 40, 45, I would like try to get pregnant, like go to a sperm bank. Or if I can't, I would like adopt a baby. I would still be like a single mother because I was raised by a single mom. So I don't have like any sort of those problems. I think, yeah, like I think it was dope. Like the
Mhm.
relationship I have with my mom is dope. We're like best friends now. So I would want the same thing with my child.
I
Of
got you. I
course,
got you.
like if his father or her father can be in her life, like that's great. That's perfect. But if not,
Mhm.
like I'm not gonna cry about it.
I see. I see. Okay. Okay. By the way, World Traveler says having kids is expensive. The age of having a single earner is finished. I would, yeah, generally agree. I honestly think if you and I had kids now, that my salary would be fine, but I would have to work a bit more. But I think it would work because I'm working from home to some degree. But yeah, it's hard for most people around the world to just have one income earner to take care of a family, right?
Yeah, it's really hard because it's like because it's just you and me, right? Like if we're I don't know, like we're not having that right now, but there were times where like, we wouldn't be eating that well, right?
Mhm.
Because it's like the last week of the month and stuff like that. I'm not saying like we're starving or anything, but we're just not eating like meats every day and stuff like that. But like when you have a kid, you need your kid to have good nutrition. You need to take your kid to the doctor all the time. So it's not like you and I, we don't go to the doctor every time we get sick, but you have to take your kid to the doctor when, the kid is sick.
Yeah.
So it's like you cannot just wing it with the child. You have to have like everything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I think we would do fine. I'm not that person that's like, finances need to be exactly straight. I think, as long as we got love and patience, well, we'll generally be fine. You know what I mean?
Oh, you're a sentimentalist.
I try not to be that person that tries to base my life around what the system says we have to do, or
Hmm.
like can we live in, right? Nelson says, can I make a call? Of course. The call, if you want to call in, the link to the Zoom is in the chat. Nelson, drop your line anytime. World Traveler says, I'm a high income earner and my wife homeschools. Even though we're comfortable, I still have my hustle hat on. I feel you, World Traveler. I mean, everybody's got to grind, and I would probably grind more and grind harder if I were a father. But this is another thing too, guys. If I did become a father, I would not put my kid on my social media. You might hear that AKDI got a baby, but y'all never see it because y'all already threaten my life. Y'all already call me all sorts of racial slurs. I'm not letting my child go through that. I'm not letting y'all, debase my child on social media. None of that. Anyway,
Yeah.
all right. Nelson Moreno says, if the world had more parents like you, the world would be a better place. Aw, thank
Aww.
you, Nelson. I appreciate that. And once again, if you want to call in, just join the Zoom link. The link is there for anybody that wants to call in and give their two piece on this. Um, instead of evil crackers got a bunch of babies. Ain't that the truth? But anyway, not speaking of evil crackers, but just moving on. Let's go to your home country, Turkey. So Turkey records dramatic decline in its fertility rate, official data. So yeah, basically it's saying like Turkey has fallen below the replacement rate, and there were only 1 million, basically less than 1 million Turkish babies born last year, and basically the Turkish birth rate has been falling since 2001. And it's very interesting. There's only like a few regions, like the eastern part, the southeastern part of the country is seeing the most birth rates, and the region around Istanbul and stuff like that, those have the lowest birth rates in the nation. And I think, when people think of Turkey, they think of big families, they think of people, having a more traditional lifestyle, traditional gender roles, and people having, more kids. And on top of that, the Muslim culture as well encourages having big families and kids too. So this might be a surprise for people, but I don't know, Aki, how did you react to this? I think it's causing it, stuff like that.
I mean, it was definitely surprising to know that it was this low. Obviously, I was expecting it to be lower than like the years before, but I wasn't expecting like it to be this much. And yeah, I think like it has the same reason behind other countries. Like economy is just really horrible in Turkey. The inflation is like one of the highest in the world, and
Hmm.
people are like barely getting by. And yeah, also like not even only like having kids, but also getting married is so expensive in Turkey as well, because our
Hmm.
culture is around like that. Like I don't think American weddings, like you can just decide to get married and then get married there, right, with
Yeah,
a
go to
couple of your
Vegas,
family
get
members.
Elvis to marry you.
Yeah, like but in Turkey, like, oh no, like you have to do a wedding, and yeah, some families still ask for like dowry money or things like that. Like, certain
Mhm.
financial expectations are put on like the bride and the groom's family, and
Yeah.
plus with like also kids as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it's like similar in the world. And I also think, that's constraint on women to be mothers was also very high in Turkey, in the history of Turkey as well, because it's a very
Hmm.
traditional, culture. So now that like younger Turkish women are able to like go abroad, do their own things and work hard, have their houses and whatever, have their businesses, I think they are going to that route instead of like having kids.
Yeah, yeah. It's because the opportunities have opened up for Muslim women and the economy is developing. Like Turkey is like a modern country and stuff like that. It's becoming more and more optional to have kids, and people are pushing it off till later and stuff like that. And your guy Erdogan, I put the quote here. He's advising the Muslim families not to use birth control, family planning, and opposes C-sections, which I just find weird. Like I'm trying to think, what is the reason a C-section might stop people from having birth? Is it because the scar is unsexy, so nobody's gonna want to smash their wife? I'm like, what? Why
This
would
is
he say
this is how like he's talking out of his ass. Like, what does this have to do with anything? He doesn't even
that?
know like how birth works. Maybe
That's
he
crazy.
thinks if you have like a C-section, you can't have more babies. He might be thinking that. Like,
Yeah,
so yeah, like there was a couple of years ago, he was doing like a very big campaign like that as well. Just saying like three plus, 3+, like everyone should have like minimum 3 kids. But bro,
yeah,
like 3 kids is like a fortune.
yeah, yeah. But let's break this down. Let's talk for real. Because we're about to jump into Lipstick Alley where all the black women are just going off on men for real, for real. Is the part of the reason a lot of Turkish women don't want to have babies is because Turkish men are not showing their best foot, like in dating them and trying to marry them. Like, are Turkish women turning down Turkish men because a lot of them are fucked up? Like, they're fuck boys, they're not serious, they're Keiko, they want to sleep with Russian women secretly and cheat on you. I don't know. What's really happening?
I think the problem is more than like Turkish men being players and like just going here and there. I think it's more about like women's perspective have changed more than men's perspective. I think like most of the time, like when I met guys that were my age before, like I met you when I would be out and stuff, those people, they would be like drinking and having fun like me, right? Like they would be like okay with gay people, okay with trans people. They'd be listening to like punk and hip hop and all sorts of things, would be so educated. But then asking about relationships and families and stuff, they would still have the same mindset of like, woman takes care of everything, woman cooks, and like if we have a kid, she's not working and all sorts of things. So I think like they need to change their, mindset about that. Like, I
Hmm.
remember having like a 3-hour argument on why a woman should be allowed to buy her own shoes if she wants to. And like this guy would be fighting with me saying, "Why would she want to buy her own shoes if I can buy it for her?" And like he wouldn't understand. And yeah, I think that's more of the problem. And of course, like, I'm not bashing every Turkish guy. There are like a lot of guys, yeah, that are more open to sharing the housework and all sorts of things, right? But I think the other one is in majority.
That closed mindedness, that traditional mentality that's turning some women off, right?
Yeah.
But some women probably like that, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
so.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, some Turkish women, they do want that and they do like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, those are the ones who get married and have babies.
Yeah,
Like, just like
yeah,
how the normal sequence goes.
yeah. How do you feel about some people saying like, "Oh, the uneducated people are the ones who are reproducing. The lower common denominator of people are reproducing." Because that's a major talking point. They say, "Oh, the biggest problem is that poor people, uneducated people, are the ones who are having the most kids." Meanwhile, and what they're secretly saying is like white people are not having kids, right? So that's the big issue. What do you think about people that say that thing?
I mean, like, yes, if we think about Turkey, it's like lower class is still having kids, but I don't know if they are having more kids, honestly, because I don't know about the statistics. But like, I think the reason also why, like, here in the article, it said that most birth rate is in the southern eastern part of Turkey, right? And that's
Hmm.
also like one of the most traditional parts of Turkey. So
Hmm.
I think like with us, it's more about tradition.
Right.
So yeah, and some of those people that live there, they are like coming from, certain cults and shit, so they're rich.
What do you mean certain cults? You mean tribes or
Well,
something?
yeah, like traditional tribes, not cults. And
Yeah.
yeah, like they have huge families,
Hmm.
and it's like, there are like some girls who are very modern and stuff like that, and they be meeting like those guys that
Hmm.
have huge families and huge fortunes, and then they marry into their families and they just become like housewives and have like 6 kids.
Wow. I mean, wouldn't that be the dream? Isn't that the dream? Some men look at what women have to go through and be like, "Oh, it's not that bad. I just marry a rich guy and I just have to lay up and pop out babies for, a few years and that's it." Okay.
I mean, for some it is, sure. Like, it's not my dream because they also have like a lot of pressure on top of being a woman, on top of being a wife and a mother. They also have like a lot of things. The royal family, those are the royal families of Turkey, and you have to like make your
Wow.
duties. You have to like keep on birthing women until you birth a man and shit like that.
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, yeah, let's finally get to the thing that I thought was the most interesting. Some of these comments from the women, right? So the women are replying to what the article is saying, that a lot of women don't want to have kids. This is what one woman says. She says, "Mom here, I don't blame them." That's so crazy. Like women are secretly online talking about how they hate their kids. That's crazy. I thought that was funny. Another woman here says, "I'm age 69 and never wanted nor had any. I view them as parasites that would have interfered with me enjoying life." Now, some people might read a comment like that and be like, "Okay, that woman is just callous, to look at children like that." But I think sometimes we're like hella critical of women that don't want to have kids. Like we think, "Oh, you must be the worst. You must have a bad personality. There's something wrong with you because you don't want to have kids." So when we read that, that's like my lizard brain mentality replying to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with having your life to you
Mm,
and living your life for you. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I don't think you need children to be happy in life and to be satisfied in life. Like, I
yeah,
want it, yes, but I don't think it's necessary, and I would still be happy if at the end of the day I didn't have any.
yeah, I got you. I got you. All right. So another woman says, "I wish I felt this way. The older I get, the more I'm like, I hope to be a mommy one day." Okay, interesting. So I think this goes to show, like, despite what other women say, you know what I mean? There will always be women that want to, try to have kids. There always be that motherly instinct that's inherent in some. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I still think like in the world today, the women who want kids and don't want kids are like balanced.
Mm,
And I think if once again if the opportunity is there and like the system helps women to have kids and supports
mm,
them, I think more women would have kids.
mm-hmm.
And I think it's balanced. Like, we don't need everyone to be birthing machines. There
Yeah.
are women who want like big families who are okay giving birth to like 5 6 kids and all that.
Hmm.
Like, I have those people in my family. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. Like people that just had them to have them. You know what I mean? Not really
no,
wanted them.
like I have 3 uncles, right? One of my uncle has like 5 kids, like 6 or 5 kids.
Damn.
And yeah, like they're fine and they're happy and they enjoy having that, big family, and they are raising their kids well as well. But then
Hmm.
I have another uncle who's like has 1 kid and
Yeah.
probably won't have any more.
Yeah. I mean, I have an auntie. The crazy thing is, when I'm reading these comments, I think about my auntie who always had a special girlfriend. She, I think everybody in their family got one of those aunties who always has a special friend who's always her roommate, right? But she never got married, never had kids. And she came from a big family, right? She had three other sisters, my mom, Auntie Margaret, Aunt Cynthia, Auntie Eva is the only one that didn't have kids, right? And all the other women, low key, kind of miserable. Kind of miserable. Even though my mom and dad are still married, they've been married longer than I've been alive, right? I've seen my mom go through ups and downs. I've heard about what Auntie Margaret went through. I heard about what Auntie Cynthia went through. But every time I see Auntie Eva, it's always, I just got back from Jamaica. Life is good. Like auntie, rich auntie vibes. It's when you do meet a woman who never had kids and she got to experience the beauty and joy and highs of life without kids. It's a different type of energy. It's like
Yeah,
it's like when you're in a room with Jay Z. You know what I mean? You feel that energy, like, okay, rich nigga shit happening right now, like big boss lady shit happening with rich auntie in town. You get what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah. No, definitely. Like, I've met some friends of my mom who never had kids and stuff, and they be having like this aura about themselves. Like, they've tried every hobby possible.
Yeah,
They're constantly traveling. They're like in tune with themselves
yeah,
and all sorts of things, and they're not like worrying about anyone. Because like, let's be honest, yeah, maybe your kid will be in your house, let's say for 20 years, right? But even after that, you're constantly worrying about someone else.
yeah.
Like, when they're in college, when they're getting married, when they have kids,
Hmm.
it's like you're always having to look out for another person.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, though, your mom, even though she's your mom, technically, she gives little bit rich auntie vibes, low key. I don't know if
Yeah.
she's just at that fuck it stage of her life, but she gives like rich auntie vibes sometimes. But no, when you meet a real rich auntie with no kids, it's like she's on another level. You get what I'm
I
saying?
mean, your auntie gives off that vibes as well, like Auntie Margaret.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think it's just something about women in general when they reach that golden age in their life when they just don't give a fuck no more, right?
Yeah.
About social pressure, about I think it's post menopause. Once you go through menopause, you've seen it all, done it all, right? Like you're ready just to be the realist. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I think that's why also like my mom is at that fuck it stage.
Yeah, yeah. But I wanted to read this comment. It says, "When I was younger, I wasn't sure I wanted kids. I went along with conventional wisdom and had. I would say this: don't have kids unless you really want them. Raising kids is hard work, it doesn't come with a guarantee, and the sheer amount of time, effort, energy, and money that goes into parenting means it's nothing anyone should do on a whim. I love my kids and I'm glad they are mine, but parenting is hard work and I'm glad they are older. None of them are enthusiastic about having kids, and I definitely won't push them into it after what I went through. The other aspect is here in the US, very little is done to encourage childbirth and rearing. We don't have the support system in place. In other Western countries, they have 6 months plus off for childcare. They have creches, they have nursery at the workplace, they have maternity and paternity leave, all that socialism that people really hate. What we have is limited and expensive. So why would a sensible woman rush to give birth? That sort of sums it up right there. Never
Yeah.
doubt the wisdom of a black woman. That's right. That's right. Nail on the head. I don't know. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean that does summarize the whole point, and um, yeah, I don't know what else to say to that. That was like, on point.
Yeah, mic drop.
Mic drop. Yeah, exactly.
Mic
And
drop.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Do you have a comment you want to read?
let me see. I had my first at 38. I regret waiting so long now because I would have 10 if I could. Okay, wow. Um,
Okay.
let's see. Let's see. I let myself be deluded for a few weeks in a situationship that we would get married and have babies. Glad I woke up because I've been sick with COVID and I can't imagine being sick and still having to take care of a baby. He ain't even
Mm.
call and check on me, shaking my head like, never mind, no thanks.
And that's what I'm saying. She was about to let a rando nut in her. That's the type of mentality of people we got running outside, letting nundos get fucked on.
I cannot understand like how lightly people take these decisions. Like I just cannot. I cannot. And also like I am aware that like I'm affected. This is what I also wanted to say about the previous comment that you read as well. I forgot. But
Mm,
I'm aware that yeah, there's like a Hollywood effect on motherhood and pregnancy like, oh, you're going to glow and you're going to get a natural boob job. And then like when you're a mom, it's so rewarding, when your kid is walking for the first time, when your kid is saying mom for the first time and all these things, right? But they don't talk about like how many sleepless nights, how many diapers you change, how many fights probably you have with your spouse
mm,
about child raising, and basically like how clueless you are when you have a kid because nobody gives you a manual. No matter
mm.
how much you look into it, how much you read and search about it, you're never going to know what it's really like until you experience it.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
think that.
something that definitely scares me as well.
Yeah, that goes back to the APA article, right? And that goes actually to somewhere actually much darker and deeper. Like, the fantasy about parenthood is much different than the reality, right? Like you
Mhm.
just said, you don't talk about the fights and stuff. Plus, also, some people, unfortunately, are born with children that have extreme disabilities, right? And that can take away somebody's ideal of the joy they thought they were going to have being a parent. Even if they even if they already knew that it was going to be a struggle raising a human, now imagine raising a person who will be permanently dependent on you, right? And that's taking it to somewhere else. But I think that relates also to what you were saying as well, like the dream versus the reality of being a parent is scaring some people too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like if I got pregnant and I knew that my child was going to have disabilities, I would get an abortion.
Mm,
If I know it like post hand because I don't want to put a child through that, but I also don't want to put myself through that as well.
right.
And obviously, like if the child is born and he or she has disabilities and I didn't know and I couldn't control it, like obviously I'm going to take care of my child regardless. But if I can prevent that from happening, I will. Oh, God, don't use the R word. Hmm. Yeah, like why would I put myself through that? Raising a kid is already hard enough. And
I wouldn't.
also put that person through that as well.
I saw Tell Them You Love Me. I wouldn't mind having Derek in the house. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun.
Obviously, if I have Derek or a kid like Derek, I would be fine, Simon. I'm just saying,
Uh,
like, if I can take a precaution, I would.
okay, okay. Anyway, I found this interesting comment right here. All right. It says they may not feel so bad about not having children. Not having grandchildren hits different though. Grown ground grown grandchildren that love their mama, love their big mama, affection, attention, devotion. I think that's thinking to another level. You know what I mean? Because like being a grand if you make it to grandfather or grandma stage, that is like a next level of love. Like you got the love of children without the responsibility of it. Sort of like uncle and auntie, but more reverence. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That might be thinking too far deep in the game. But I think that's also something to consider when people are saying, I don't want to have kids. Like, damn, you don't want to be grandpa? Everybody love grandpa. Everybody, you get what I mean?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, at this day and age where everything is more free, I don't know if I would have grandkids even if I have a kid,
Mm,
right? Like, my kid could be gay or like whatever, they might have infertility, they might not want to have kids, all sorts of things. So there is a possibility that I won't have grandkids. So I wouldn't make a decision off of that.
yeah.
But obviously I would want to be a grandparent because I love my grandma. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you plan on? Well, of course, if you plan on being a mother, you plan on being grandma too. What type of grandma will you be? Will you be the grandma that gives out cookies, grandma that gives out money, or the grandma that tells like wild, crazy stories?
Wild crazy stories and cookies.
Okay, wild, crazy stories and cookies. Okay,
Yeah,
all
I'll
right.
be the grandma that's making like dirty jokes, but appropriate in inappropriate places, like when kids are like teenagers, not when they're like 5.
Sure, sure, Aki. Okay, we're gonna watch your potty mouth. We're gonna make sure. But yeah. Anyway, one more thing. What's another good comment we have here? Okay. Here's just one that's just really basic and funny. Actually, yes. Realizing the reason I don't want children is just because I'm lazy. Just the thought of raising kids makes me tired. That's just funny. That's just funny, low key. I mean, that's honestly real. I just think like this whole issue comes back down to like people's choices, and this is what a real personal issue that we don't listen to women enough. So like, if we've learned anything from this live stream, we got to listen to women talk about
Mhm.
why birth rates are falling. And deep off in this thread, a lot of it has to do with men who are saying wild stuff to women and not being there for women, like the girl who got COVID and the guy just disappeared. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one here. I wish people understood and accepted that a couple can be a real family, just the two of them. And when they have something solid, they don't want to risk nor manage unknown threats to their functional, happy, and healthy dynamic. The narrative that children automatically create more love and happiness is false because couples are more likely to break up after bringing a child into the equation. For those who don't have a biological or other external urges to reproduce, it just doesn't make sense to mess with that stability. It's not selfishness, it's establishing a boundary and knowing when you are good.
If you think about it, like having a baby is sort of like a horror movie, low key. Think about it. Young, happy couple living their life in a cabin in the woods. They're strong, sexy, healthy, having sex all the time. Next thing you know, the woman's belly gets bigger and bigger, and nobody knows what's happening. Next thing you know, a baby bursts out of her coochie, and it says, feed me, take care of me, take care of me." And they're stuck with it. Sort of like that film. What was that film's name? The one where the people were trapped in the suburbs and they kept driving around and they had that little baby that
Yeah,
that screamed at them and screeched at them.
I forgot the name of the movie, but I understood which one.
Yeah, but it's such a metaphor for like what it is like to get married and moved into the suburbs and have a kid, right? And you're trapped there for 18 years and then the
Yeah.
kid kills you. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I always thought about like that also because some people say that, couples decide to have kids when they're like when they have problems and they think a kid is going to solve their problems. Like,
Hmm.
for example, they won't be having sex, or they're not communicating, or they're bored from their relationship, and then they're like, okay, let's have a kid and that will fix it. And like
Yeah.
it ends up being kid like having trauma because parents are fighting, and or they get divorced or whatever, or they
Yeah.
take it out from the kid.
Yeah, if we can leave something in 2024, can people stop having kids thinking that it's going to fix the issues of their past?
Yeah.
Like, you got trauma, you got issues with your mama, your daddy, however you grew up. Don't think, oh, I'm going to have a kid and raise them better than I did instantly. No, you got to fix yourself first. And J.S. Venture said this is a consequence of an individualist society. We do need some individualism for people seeking therapy and closure with their issues or dealing with their issues before they pass it on. You feel me? And
Yeah,
I'm just speaking out my ass. I think the therapist here would agree with me.
I mean, it's going down to like Erickson's stages of development, because it says that if you fail at one stage, you're not really able to continue healthily to another stage. So, like, if you fail at childhood, then that's going to affect when you have your kid, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
You have to
exactly.
like untie the knots
Yeah,
before you have those.
yeah. I wonder how people feel about these sorts of families multiplying. You think people would be complaining about the birth rates if, like, instead it was like a bunch of families like this replicating themselves over and over again?
Then they would be like, "Oh, there's too many people." Like how people are towards like India and Pakistan, and they're
Yeah,
saying like there's so many of them. Like,
yeah. All
oh,
right. See,
because they're not like.
some people are having kids. I wonder, if the bunch of families are having kids like this, would people be saying, "There's a population crisis. We need more babies." But yeah, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. But having 9 kids, family of 9, that's crazy. It seems like there's extremes growing in this world. Like the trad wife people and the return to Western values people. It's like they're getting a woman, like they find one woman they can trick to manipulate and say, "Hey girl, we going trad." We going trad, girl.
We're gonna create a football team.
We're gonna create a football team. Trust me. My uncle, he has a shack in the woods. We can repopulate. Like we're gonna go back to nature. And the girl's like, okay. And she gets like 5 years later, she has 6 of them.
There's like there are crazy things I see on social media. Like, I remember there's this woman who's living in a farm with her family, right? And she has like 6 or 7 kids, maybe
Hmm.
more, and she's making everything from scratch.
That's wild.
Like, I think she was like making a pizza or something. She literally like harvested barley and then like made that into flour,
Hmm.
and like she churned butter and then used that like for the cake or the pizza or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah,
how are you doing that?
that's crazy.
But
There's
then,
this.
sorry, I have to say this, but at the same time, I would be seeing like these crazy reels as well. It's like, what's breakfast like for a mom of four, right?
Hmm.
And then like the mother puts like horrible things onto the plates, like freaking microwave pizza for breakfast for like a 4-year
Ooh.
old.
Ooh.
And it's so bad. Like, I don't know, a Pop Tart and like jelly beans for breakfast.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, two extremes, like you said.
Yeah, two extremes, right? And I think a lot of people are just having kids, even worse. Like this goes even further to like internet clout. You get what I'm saying? Like they're doing that whole aesthetic thing just to get clout and because there's money in it, right? Like you can become big family YouTuber, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But yeah, there was something I was gonna say. Oh yeah, there's an Anne Hathaway movie coming out similar to this, right? And in the film, it's about this woman pretending to be a trad wife on Instagram and like she's pretending to make bread with her bare hands and cut wood and stuff like that, and then she wakes up one day and she's really transported back 200 years, and and like her husband is like smacking her to go outside to like milk the pig until like her fingers bleed, and like she has to like get firewood and then have sex with him at the end of the night. It's like it's gonna be this new horror movie coming out. I think it's gonna be dope.
Mm,
We should watch it and review it.
yeah. I have to ask something because
Tell me.
I don't know in which movie I saw, but I saw it in like a couple of them. I saw that some schools for sex ed give like fake babies to kids
Hmm.
and then like use them to scare them off from pregnancy. Did you get like a fake kid?
No, no, no. I'd never had home economics class. I know in like American cinema, they tell the story of like the teacher gives you an egg and says protect the egg over the weekend, you and your partner, and that's like having a baby or something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I never had that experiment. No. And even if we did, we would have boiled the egg. Just
Wow. I mean, I saw like more real versions of that in a movie. Like there was literally like a, baby doll that
Mhm,
cried and burped
mhm.
and farted and all sorts of things.
Yeah, yeah. But no, I've never had classes like that. Do you think that's a helpful class? More people should have that?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think we could wrap it up here. We've pretty much talked about it. Basically, I'll just say this, we should listen to women when talking about this. When we hear women's comments, a lot of them are complaining about how our society is too expensive for kids, especially in America, where nothing is free and you got to be a slave to everybody. And then we wonder why we have to keep on importing immigrants because we don't make it easy for our own American women to get that nut up in them. You feel me? It's bad. Okay, it's bad. Women are scared because they can't even get abortions. They can't do nothing, right? And a second thing is a lot of men, unfortunately, are dogs out here. Like men are becoming more and more dogs. It's crazy. The game is dirty. The social media
Um,
age is dirty.
I don't think that's really the problem. I think if someone wants to like have that really, I think they can find someone according to them. But it's like most of the time people want to have relationships, marriages and kids, but they just have so many problems themselves
No, no,
and they don't
no,
fix
no.
their own problems, so they end up like blaming the situation.
No, no, no. Here's one comment from a woman on lipstick. She says the lack of a capable partner is one of the reasons women aren't having children. Poll women who have children and ask them if they would have kids with their partner, knowing what they know now. I bet most of them would say, "Fuck no." most, most women are getting pregnant by some of these dudes and wish they could take it back because men change when that baby comes. You get me?
Why do men change?
It's for a lot of reasons, like the Elvis reason, right? You need the Madonna and the whore, right? Something like that, maybe. That's not my
Will you
reason.
change? Will
No,
you
I'm not
change?
gonna. If I did change, how am I just gonna say no, baby? I'm not gonna change. That's the type of shit that gets you pregnant. No, baby, I ain't never gonna change. You know I'm here for you. I ain't never gonna do that. That's the type of shit niggas say. But
I'm
I'm
just
just
saying
saying,
it's scary to think that like you would not like me
yeah.
if I have kids.
No, it's no. That would never happen. That would never happen. Simon is going to become a demon. Nelson throwing salt on my game. Nelson, don't be throwing salt on my neck. Don't do that. I know you're trying to get me back because I said you got Bussy pregnant, but it's all good, man. But yeah, yeah, yeah. I got nothing else to say. You got any final comments?
um I mean, I think the problem is, system not supporting women enough and also like men enough as well. Yeah, I think like there's more problems finding a spouse these days. Yes, there is, but I don't think that's the main issue. I think main issue is more like the system, and I do think women would have more kids if that is fixed. But it's also okay. Like I think it's like I said, it's balanced. Like the number of women who want to have kids and not want to have kids, and we're not gonna die, people. It's fine.
Stuff like that, and trying to expand their careers and have more options. I think we're going to see less women actually have kids in the future, right?
No,
It's only going
I
to be
mean
it's
like
only going to be the
if
trad wives.
yeah, look, I'm sorry, like I think I said it wrong, but I meant like if the governments gave enough support, I think it would be balanced then.
I got you. I got you. Okay. Well, we'll agree. I agree with that. That the government does need to support that, and then more people would have kids or consider it maybe.
But
But
either way, stay out of our vaginas.
yeah, men stay out of women's vaginas unless she lets you in. Unless she lets you in. But
Yeah.
women, y'all got to start. Y'all can't be saying you got us pregnant. You could have pushed us off. You could have backed it up. You know that nut coming. Women lie. They say I don't know
There
the nut is
is
coming. They know.
there is no one side to blame. Two people make babies, okay? Not one person.
Okay, but y'all be y'all control sex. You get what I'm saying? Y'all technically control sex.
Mhm.
It's true. It's true.
Okay, sure. I'll let you
But
think that.
yeah, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this conversation. Shout out to my guy Nelson. Shout out to JS Ventures. Shout out to Commando 21. And shout out Thomas Anderson. And yeah, it was good talking with you, Acty. I enjoyed this live stream. Y'all call in next time. We don't do these call in shows often. Y'all miss y'all opportunity. Y'all got to wait till the next blue moon. But be easy out there and don't get nobody pregnant unless you're ready. 18 years. 18 years.